Hello, Memorial basketball fans. I'm Charles Schroeder.
And I'm Teddy Harless.
And welcome to week 3 of our video series covering the Old Abes basketball teams.
Starting off with the girls, they played against Chi Hi last week, and apart from three-point percentage, which was still below 20%, it was really business as usual for the girls.
Yeah, and it was, like we said, a couple dozen points margin-wise that we won by. And the girls, everything really clicked there, hitting a lot of shots, a lot of individuals really coming out of the fray, being exceptional in that regard in their first conference game. And Ashlynn Schroeder was the one who was by and away the most impressive in this game.
Yeah, 5 for 5 on field goals, 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 steals. That is an insane stat line.
And that's in 16 minutes of play. A lot of time we had our starters off the court, particularly in that second half when things were, really under control. And for Schroeder to come in and do that part, we say it all the time about her. She is an ensemble player. She's not necessarily going to be the highest scoring on the team or outstanding in a lot of those categories, but she's well-rounded and she is an absolute team player. And that shows with that little time on the court making that big of an impact, she is indispensable to this team.
Yeah, she's really just always making the right plays, like whether that be passing, taking the shot, trying hard on defense, going after those steals. She's giving it her 100%, 100% of the time.
Yeah, and it really shows on a larger scale how the team should play smart basketball. She is an excellent player in that regard. She plays confident, smart basketball, and she leads by example in that regard. So all in all, just an excellent game, and to start off conference with such a big win is always nice to see, to have, a tally in the win category.
Coming up on Friday, the girls have the first part of the doubleheader against New Richmond, who averaged 28.5 turnovers and 18 offensive rebounds. What do you think that will look like as part of the game?
So I think those two categories really jump out to us because New Richmond, they've only played 2 games, so, as with all of these, it's a little early to be really getting a good idea of what a team is made of. It's hard to get a trend out of just 2 games. But early impressions, this team is going to turn over the ball a lot if we're in the right place at the right time and if we're aggressive defensively. Like we said, a key to the victory against Chippewa Falls was going to be that defensive aggression, and that came out in spades with double-digit steals by a wide margin. Schroeder herself getting 7.
Yeah, and defensive aggression is a key part of this team in general. We'll talk about it a lot. We like to use that full court press to try and put pressure on the other team and try and take the ball away. And we've been successful at that as part of our team going back years.
Yeah, and in conference play, we see that working especially well. I think, defensively, if we're able to clamp down on their offensive rebounds and kind of flip possessions, that's going to be important. But even more important is how we are going to rebound when we're, trying to score, keep possessions alive. We average 20.6 offensive rebounds a game, which, just under 3 higher than New Richmond. So that is going to be a really important piece of the puzzle, is can we craft long possessions and can we maintain possession if we're missing shots?
Yeah, offensive rebounds and turnovers are both key stats in that it tracks your ability to maintain possessions on offense. And that's really one of the most important aspects of a game, because you need to keep your possessions going and try and get points on the board each possession.
Yeah, and that's something that we do very well at. New Richmond, on the individual side of things, they have one standout player. Miley Covey has 3 steals a game so far in this season and is averaging 13.5 points in those 2 games.
Yeah, she's been someone who's been playing really well, and we're going to have to look out for her, really try and make sure she doesn't take the ball away from us and try and stop her on the defensive side.
Yeah, and like we were kind of saying about the offensive possessions, since, there's no shot clock to contend with like we were talking about last week, that's going to help the girls out in the sense that we can kind of take our time, and as long as we have good ball control and we're running our schemes effectively, we can take our time and we can take smart 3-point shots. That's something that we, haven't really excelled at so far this season, but that's a great opportunity where we can hit our stride here as we come home on Friday. And if we're taking those smart threes, that's a stat category that I think is sure to flip.
On Friday, we had an electric home opener against the Burnsville Blaze, and that student section was really packed, and it was great to see the pep band out there. It really was a great atmosphere to have our home opener, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stands in general were just packed. Like, the Eagles' nest was full to the brim. It was great to see such a turnout for a home opener, and the fans were not disappointed by any stretch of the imagination. That was a game.
Yeah, we really seized the momentum with that opener. We started off, it was a tough battle, but we took off towards the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think a big part of that is turnovers. Burnsville had 26 turnovers, and we only gave up 18. And that was a big momentum swinging thing, and that is that we were able to take it away from them, catch them unawares, and the speed of a lot of our players, talking about Julius Clark especially, really make sure that when there are turnovers and they're on the back foot trying to scramble back for our possession, they're going to end up giving up some points. That definitely was a factor.
Well, you're talking about Julius Clark and his speed on turnovers. How about Ben Fesenmaier taking the steal all the way down the court and slamming it on the other end?
Yeah, a definite highlight for us here at Eagle Eye, and probably everyone in attendance based on the crowd sound. Ben Fesenmaier hit the ground running with this is honestly the first varsity game where he has had significant minutes in. And it seemed like he'd been there the whole time. He was more than comfortable. And like we said, that dunk is definitely the crowning achievement of his performance. And, let's take a look at the clip, the dunk that made it all happen and kind of got things going our way. And we also have an exclusive interview with Ben Fesenmaier, who has some personal insight as to the big moment.
Stolen away by Fesenmaier. Fesenmaier. Throws it down. How about that? The fans are going crazy. Ben Fesenmaier with the steal and a power move over top of the defense. 10-point lead, and they are on their feet.
We said it earlier. Fesenmaier looking to replace height in that role of the tall, big man, the center down low, and he is throwing down that dunk, electrifying the stadium and making a statement, much like Height did last year.
And it was a 77-55 final, but there were some definitely tense moments in that game, and I think one of the most notable of those was that dunk you had. You had an excellent steal, you were on the run, and over top of a defender, you threw it down. So just kind of take us through that moment, how did it go down, and how did it kind of affect the momentum going forward?
Right when I stole that ball, I knew that I had to do something to bring the team morale up, because going into halftime, we were ready to go. And coming out, we had a slow start, but we kept going, and that dunk was a very pivotal point, like you said. It brought the energy way up. After I made it, I looked around to my teammates, everybody was pumped up, the coaches were pumped up, and I think that's what gave us the breakaway to get up by 10, up by 20, and eventually win the game by a huge margin.
Thank you, Ben Fesenmaier, for that great interview and insane moment. And another player who has sort of stepped up from a smaller role last season is Caleb Yates, who went 3 for 5 with 11 points and 3 assists.
Yeah, Yates did an excellent job, and he was really getting the crowd going and really swinging that momentum. It's kind of the, thesis of this game, I'd say, is that Burnsville was going toe-to-toe with us for the vast majority of the contest, and especially at that beginning of the second half. They were crawling back. They were kind of clawing the lead away from us at times. It was a very back-and-forth affair. But it was players like Caleb Yates that played good, hard-nosed offense. They played resolute defense, and Yates especially swooping in there, getting a lot of rebounds for his team and keeping possessions alive with the help of Cooper Jesperson. and all those other guys. So Yates just an excellent team player in this game, and a double-digit start after being elevated from a lesser position on varsity. Both Fesenmaier and Yates are seeming to usher in a sort of new era of this senior-heavy offense.
Yeah, and they both point to, like you said, that senior heaviness of it, that huge amount of depth we have because we're getting these types of performances out of players off the bench. Like we saw in that game against Burnsville just how many good players we have on our team. Like we said, we've got our starting five, and then we've got Ben Fesenmaier, Caleb Yates, Shamar Simmons, all coming off the bench. Like, we have a great team with a lot of depth, and it will be exciting to see those roles of each of the individual players grow and change throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an exciting game to watch, and really something that points to a bright future for this season, especially as we enter conference play. The second half of our doubleheader is, of course, the boys playing New Richmond.
Yeah, it should be exciting to see both of them go back-to-back, the boys and girls, on Friday. And it should be exciting to see us play against a opponent like Jack Charbonneau, who has 15.5 points per game and 10.5 rebounds per game, and is a 6'5" big man.
Yeah, the senior Jack Charbonneau definitely going to be something to watch out for. And this is a team that's got comparable size to our own. And that, that's something that makes a difference, particularly in the physicality of a contest. That's where I think, we're going to have a lot of Caleb Yates and a lot of Ben Fesenmaier to look forward to on Friday, because we're going to need those players, with, a bit more wingspan and everything to step up, especially in a defensive role, because Jack Charbonneau, he thrives in the paint, a lot of mid-range paint scoring out of him. So being able to clamp down on that interior is going to be paramount, and I think Ben Fesenmaier and Caleb Yates have proved their worth in spades to start out.
Yeah, it's been a great start. We'll see if we can keep things rolling against New Richmond, and we'll see how the Chi Hi game goes. At this point, you've already seen it. We have not yet. So we'll see how that goes. We hope to keep the momentum rolling against New Richmond, too, and just see how we can get this opening of the season to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a great week of starting conference play for the boys and for the girls to finally come home and start their season at the Eagles' Nest.
And, as always,
Go Abes!
Hi everybody, I'm Aiden Rickert, Eagle Eye's other guy. If you're interested in more MHS sports content, be sure to check out our TikTok, Instagram, and check out some of the other videos on our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more. Go Abes!